Chapter 1. The Invitation to Blackthorn Manor. The rain fell in a persistent drizzle, cloaking London in a grey veil that matched Hercule Poirot's mood as he sat in his impeccably tidy flat at Whitehaven Mansions. The morning had been uneventful, save for the rhythmic patter against the windows and the occasional clink of his coffee cup as he sipped his tisane. Poirot, ever the man of order, had just arranged his correspondence with precision when his friend and confidant, Captain Arthur Hastings, burst through the door, his umbrella dripping onto the polished floor. "Poirot, old chap, you'll never guess what's arrived," Hastings exclaimed, waving a cream-coloured envelope sealed with crimson wax. "A letter addressed to you, and it looks frightfully important." Poirot's moustache twitched with curiosity. "Mon ami, your enthusiasm is, as always, a delight, but perhaps you will permit me to see this letter before you flood my carpet." He extended a manicured hand, his grey eyes gleaming with interest. Hastings handed over the envelope, and Poirot noted the elegant looping script on its front. The wax seal bore an intricate crest, a raven clutching a key. Breaking it open with care, Poirot extracted a single sheet of heavy parchment. The letter was penned in black ink, its tone both formal and urgent. "Dear Monsieur Poirot, I am Lady Eleanor Blackthorn, mistress of Blackthorn Manor in the county of Shropshire. I write to request your unparalleled expertise in a matter most peculiar and distressing. An heirloom of my family, an ancient wardrobe housed in our guest wing, has become the source of inexplicable disturbances. It whispers secrets, monsieur, secrets that threaten the peace of my household. I implore you to visit us at your earliest convenience. Your discretion is paramount. Enclosed are details for your journey. Yours sincerely, Lady Eleanor Blackthorn Poirot's." Brow furrowed as he passed the letter to Hastings, who read it with widening eyes. "Whispers Poirot? A wardrobe? Sounds like something out of a Gothic novel." "Perhaps, Hastings," Poirot mused, stroking his moustache. "But the little grey cells, they are intrigued. A wardrobe that speaks. No, it is not the wood that whispers, but the secrets of those who surround it. We shall go to this Blackthorn Manor." By the following morning, Poirot and Hastings were aboard a train, rattling through the mist-shrouded English countryside. The landscape grew wilder as they neared Shropshire, with rolling hills giving way to dense woods and craggy moors. Blackthorn Manor, they learned from the station-master, was a half-hour's drive from the village of Ravensend, a place spoken of in hushed tones by locals. The manor itself loomed at the end of a winding gravel-strewn path, its Gothic spires piercing the fog like the claws of some ancient beast. Ivy clung to its weathered stone walls, and the windows gleamed darkly, reflecting the sullen sky. As their hired car crunched to a stop, a butler, tall, gaunt, and impeccably dressed, emerged to greet them. "Monsieur Poirot, Captain Hastings," he intoned, his voice as sombre as the manor's facade. "I am Grayson, Lady Eleanor's butler. She awaits you in the drawing-room." Inside the manor was a labyrinth of shadowed corridors and creaking floorboards. Portraits of stern-faced Blackthorns lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow the visitors. The air carried a faint scent of polished wood and old secrets. In the drawing-room, Lady Eleanor Blackthorn rose to greet them. She was a woman, of middle age, her silver-streaked hair swept into a severe bun. her eyes sharp but weary. "Monsieur Poirot, your reputation precedes you," she said, her voice steady despite a tremor of unease. "I am grateful you've come. This situation has unsettled my family." Poirot bowed slightly. "Madame, I am at your service. Tell me of this wardrobe that whispers." Lady Eleanor gestured toward a tray of tea, which Grayson served with silent efficiency. "The wardrobe is an heirloom, brought from France by my great-grandfather in 1790. It is carved from dark oak, adorned with strange symbols, and has stood in the guest wing for generations. Recently it has spoken, not words precisely, but sounds, murmurs, sighs, as if it holds a voice of its own." Hastings, ever the sceptic, chuckled nervously. "Surely, Lady Eleanor, it's the wind or some trick of the house?" She fixed him with a piercing stare. "I thought so too, Captain, until my nephew Charles heard his name whispered last week. He's been shaken ever since. Others have heard it too, guest servants. I fear there is more to this than drafts." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "Who resides in this manor, madame? I must know the players in this curious drama." Lady Eleanor listed the household. Her nephew Charles, a charming but reckless young man. Her niece Beatrice, a quiet scholar with a passion for history. Mr. Reginald Voss, a family friend and solicitor. And Mrs. Clara Dunlay, a widowed cousin with a sharp tongue. The staff included Grayson, a cook named Mrs. Harrow, and a young maid, Lily, who seemed particularly nervous. As they spoke, a distant sound like a low, mournful hum drifted through the room. Hastings froze, his teacup rattling. "Good heavens, what was that?" Lady Eleanor's face paled. "That, Captain, is the wardrobe. It is upstairs, in the east wing. Would you care to see it?" Poirot rose, his expression calm but alert. "Oui, madame. The little grey cells, they demand to meet this whispering enigma." They ascended a grand staircase, its banister worn smooth by generations. The east wing was colder, the air heavy with dust and silence. At the end of a dim corridor stood the wardrobe, a towering piece of dark oak, carved with intricate vines and symbols that seemed to writhe in the flickering light. Its doors were slightly ajar, as if inviting inspection. Poirot approached, his gloved hand tracing the carvings. "Magnifique," he murmured, "but also unsettling. Hastings, do you hear anything?" Hastings leaned closer, then shook his head. "Nothing now, but I don't like the look of it. It's as if it's watching us." "Non, mon ami," Poirot said softly. "It is not the wardrobe that watches, but those who know its secrets. We shall dine with the family tonight, and I, Hercule Poirot, shall observe." As they returned, downstairs, the manor seemed to close in around them, its shadows deepening. The mystery of the whispering wardrobe had begun, and Poirot's mind was already at work, sifting through the threads of a puzzle that promised to be as intricate as the carvings on the wardrobe itself. Chapter 2. The Wardrobe's First Murmur. The dining room of Blackthorn Manor glowed under the flicker of a chandelier, its crystal prisms casting fractured light across the long mahogany table. Hercule Poirot sat at Lady Eleanor Blackthorn's right, his posture impeccable, his eyes darting from face to face as the household gathered for dinner. Captain Hastings, seated opposite, fidgeted with his napkin, still rattled by their earlier encounter with the looming wardrobe in the east wing. The air was thick with the scent of roasted pheasant, and an undercurrent of unease that Poirot noted with quiet satisfaction. A mystery, he knew, thrived on such tensions. Lady Eleanor presided, at the head of the table, her silver hair catching the candlelight. To her left sat her nephew, Charles Blackthorne, a handsome man in his late 20s with a roguish smile that seemed forced tonight. Next to him was Beatrice, Lady Eleanor's niece, her nose buried in a book until her aunt's sharp glance prompted her to set it aside. Mr. Reginald Voss, the family solicitor, adjusted his spectacles nervously, while Mrs. Clara Dunley, the widowed cousin, surveyed the room with a critical eye. The butler, Grayson, moved silently, serving wine with a precision that Poirot admired. "Tell me, Monsieur Poirot," Charles began, breaking the silence, "do you believe in ghosts? This wardrobe business has the servants in a tizzy." His tone was light, but his fingers drummed on the table. Poirot sipped his wine, his moustache curling slightly. "Ghosts, Monsieur Charles? No, I believe in facts. The wardrobe, it makes sounds, oui, but it is the why and the who that interest Hercule Poirot." Mrs. Dunley snorted. "It's nonsense. Old houses creak. The staff are simply superstitious." "Perhaps," Beatrice said softly, her voice barely audible. "But the wardrobe's history is unusual. I've read about it in the family archives. It was crafted in France during the Revolution. There are stories. She was cut off by a low, eerie hum that seemed to rise from the walls themselves. The table fell silent, forks pausing mid-air. Hastings's eyes widened, and even Grayson's stoic facade faltered as he nearly spilled the wine. The sound was faint, like a whisper carried on the wind, yet it carried a weight that pressed against the room. "Good heavens!" Hastings exclaimed, half rising. "That's it, isn't it? The wardrobe!" Lady Eleanor's face tightened. "It comes from the east wing. It has been happening for weeks, Monsieur Poirot. Always at night, always unsettling." Poirot's gaze swept the table, noting each reaction. Charles's smile had vanished, replaced by a pallor that betrayed his earlier bravado. Beatrice clutched her napkin, her eyes darting toward the ceiling. Voss adjusted his spectacles again, a nervous tick, while Mrs. Dunley's lips pursed in defiance, though her hands trembled slightly. Grayson resumed serving, but his movements were stiffer now. "Fascinating," Poirot murmured. "Madame, may I ask about this wardrobe's history? Mademoiselle Beatrice, you mentioned the archives." Beatrice hesitated, glancing at her aunt for permission. Lady Eleanor nodded. "Go on, Beatrice." "Monsieur, Poirot should know." "It was made in 1789, Beatrice began, her voice gaining confidence, "by a cabinet-maker named Etienne Moreau in Paris. He was rumoured to be part of a secret society. Some say the Order of the Saffron Veil. The wardrobe was commissioned for a noble family, but after the Revolution it was smuggled to England. Our great-grandfather acquired it at an auction, though the records are vague. There are tales that it was cursed, that it holds secrets of those who owned it." "Cursed," Mrs. Dunley scoffed. "Romantic drivel. It's just an old piece of furniture." "Yet it speaks, madame," Poirot said smoothly. "And that it is not the behaviour of ordinary furniture, no?" The hum sounded again, sharper this time, almost like a wordless sigh. Hastings shivered and Charles pushed back his chair. "I say, that's enough for me. I'm going to have a look." "Non, monsieur," Poirot said firmly, raising a hand. "We shall all go, together, after dinner. The little grey cells, they require order. First we eat, we observe, and then we investigate." The meal continued, though the atmosphere was strained. Poirot steered the conversation to the Blackthorn family, probing gently. He learned that Charles stood to inherit a significant portion of the estate, provided he met certain conditions in Lady Eleanor's will. Beatrice, a scholar of history, had little interest in wealth, but was fiercely protective of the family's legacy. Voss, the solicitor, seemed overly attentive to Lady Eleanor, while Mrs. Dunlay's barbed comments hinted at resentment over her dependence on her cousin's hospitality. As dessert was served, a delicate lemon tart, Poirot's attention shifted to the staff. Grayson's impassive demeanour suggested loyalty, but Poirot noted the butler's brief glance toward Charles when the wardrobe's hum interrupted the meal. The maid, Lily, who had been silent all evening, dropped a spoon with a clatter when the sound returned, her face pale as she mumbled an apology. Dinner concluded, Poirot led the group to the east wing, their footsteps echoing in the dim corridor. The wardrobe stood as they had left it, its dark oak gleaming faintly in the lamplight. Poirot circled it, his gloved fingers tracing the carved vines and symbols. He paused at the door, peering inside. The interior was lined with cedar, its scent sharp. But what caught his eye was a faint inscription scratched into the wood. Les murmurs gardant la vérité. The whispers keep the truth, Poirot translated, his voice low. Most intriguing. Madame, has this inscription always been here? Lady Eleanor frowned. I don't know. I've never looked so closely. Charles stepped forward, peering over Poirot's shoulder. Looks old. Could be nothing. Just some French nonsense. Or, Poirot said, his eyes gleaming, it is everything. Hastings, do you see? The wardrobe. It is not merely a piece of furniture. It is a puzzle. As they stood there, the hum returned, softer now, almost mocking. Hastings clutched his hat, and Beatrice whispered, It's as if it knows we're here. Poirot smiled faintly. Perhaps, mademoiselle, or perhaps someone wishes us to believe it does. We shall return tomorrow in the light of day when the little grey cells are fresh. For now, I suggest we retire and listen. As they descended the staircase, Poirot's mind churned. The wardrobe's murmurs were no mere superstition. They were a clue, a thread in a tapestry of secrets woven through Blackthorn Manor. Who, he wondered, was pulling the strings? And what truth did the whispers guard? Chapter 3. Shadows in the Night. The clock in Blackthorn Manor's grand hall struck midnight, its chimes reverberating through the darkened corridors like a summons. Hercule Poirot, tucked into the guest room's four-poster bed, had not yet succumbed to sleep. His mind, ever active, sifted through the evening's observations. Charles's forced nonchalance, Beatrice's scholarly reserve, Voss's nervous tics, and Mrs. Dunlay's sharp disdain. The wardrobe's murmurs, coupled with the cryptic inscription, Les murmurs gardant la vérité, lingered in his thoughts, a puzzle demanding the attention of his little grey cells. Captain Hastings in the adjacent room had been less, restrained, muttering about cursed furniture before bidding Poirot good night. The manor was silent now, save for the occasional creak of ancient timbers and the distant howl of the wind across the Shropshire moors. Poirot, adjusting his silk pyjamas, was about to extinguish his bedside lamp when a piercing scream shattered the stillness. He sprang from bed with surprising agility, seizing his dressing gown. Hastings burst through the connecting door, hair dishevelled, a poker from the fireplace clutched in his hand. "Poirot, did you hear that? It came from upstairs." "Oui, mon ami," Poirot replied, already at the door. "The east wing, I believe, quickly, but with caution." They hurried down the corridor, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. The scream had roused the household. Doors opened, and figures emerged in various states of undress. Lady Eleanor, her face pale beneath a lace nightcap, joined them at the foot of the grand staircase, followed by Grayson, the butler, who carried a lantern. Charles, dishevelled and wide-eyed, appeared moments later, with Beatrice trailing behind, clutching a shawl. "It was Charles's room," Beatrice gasped. "I heard it from mine, just across the hall." They ascended to the east wing, the lantern's glow casting long, wavering shadows on the walls. Charles's door stood ajar, and inside the young man sat on his bed, his face ashen. A glass of water had spilled on the nightstand, its contents pooling on the floor. "Charles, what happened?" Lady Eleanor demanded, her voice trembling. He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes darting toward the window. It was the wardrobe. I swear it, Aunt Eleanor. I was half asleep and I heard it, my name, whispered clear as day. "Charles," it said over and over. I thought I was dreaming, but then it got louder, and I screamed. Hastings, still gripping the poker, peered into the shadows. "Good Lord, Poirot, this is getting out of hand. A wardrobe calling names?" Poirot's moustache twitched as he surveyed the room. "Calm yourself, Hastings. Monsieur Charles, you are certain it was the wardrobe? Not, perhaps, a voice from the corridor, or the wind through the window?" Charles shook his head vehemently. "No, it came from the guest room, where that blasted thing is. I'd know it anywhere. It wasn't human. It was wrong." Lady Eleanor clasped her hands. "Monsieur Poirot, this is precisely why I summoned you. The wardrobe's disturbances are tearing my family apart." Poirot moved to the window, checking the latch. It was secure, the glass cold against his fingers. He then crossed to the door, examining the lock and hinges. "The room is undisturbed," he murmured. "Yet the little grey cells, they are not satisfied. Let us visit this wardrobe once more." The group, now joined by Mrs. Dunley and Mr. Voss, proceeded to the guest room. Mrs. Dunley muttered about hysterical nonsense, while Voss adjusted his spectacles, his face etched with unease. The wardrobe loomed in the lantern's light, its carved vines seeming to twist in the flickering glow. Poirot opened its doors, revealing the cedar-lined interior. The inscription, "The whispers keep the truth," was still there, but nothing else appeared amiss. "Listen," Beatrice whispered, her eyes wide. The room was silent, save for the faint drip of rain outside. Then, almost imperceptibly, a low hum began, rising and falling like a breath. Hastings stiffened, and even Mrs. Dunley fell silent. "It's doing it again," Charles said, his voice hoarse. "You hear it, don't you?" Poirot raised a hand, his eyes narrowing. "Oui, I hear it. But is it the wardrobe, or is it a trick of the ear? Madam, He turned to Lady Eleanor. "Who has access to this room?" "Only the family and Grayson," she replied. "The maids clean it weekly, but no one lingers here. It's unsettling." Grayson, holding the lantern steady, spoke for the first time. "I assure you, sir, the room is locked when not in use. I check it myself." Poirot nodded, filing the information away. He tapped the wardrobe side, listening for hollow spaces, but the wood was solid. "Most curious," he said. "Monsieur Charles, you mentioned conditions in your aunt's will. Might they relate to this manor, or perhaps its heirlooms?" Charles flushed, glancing at Lady Eleanor. "Well, yes, but it's hardly relevant. I must marry and settle down to inherit fully. Aunt Eleanor's rules, not mine. Everything is relevant," Poirot said softly. "And you, Mademoiselle Beatrice, you study the family history. Have you found mention of the wardrobe beyond what you shared?" Beatrice hesitated. "There are gaps in the archives. Some pages are missing, torn out. I've been meaning to investigate further." Mrs. Dunley scoffed. "This is absurd. Charles had a nightmare, and now we're all chasing ghosts. I'm going back to bed." "Patience, madame," Poirot said. "The truth, it does not reveal itself in haste. We shall reconvene in the morning, when the light is clearer." As the group dispersed, Poirot lingered, his gaze fixed on the wardrobe. Hastings hovered nearby, reluctant to leave. "Poirot, do you think it's really supernatural?" "Non, Hastings," Poirot replied, his voice firm. "The supernatural, it is a mask for human motives. Someone wishes us to fear this wardrobe, to distract from the truth it guards. But who and why? That is the question." They returned to their rooms, but sleep eluded Poirot. The manor's shadows seemed to pulse with secrets, and the wardrobe's murmurs echoed in his mind. As he lay in the darkness, he sensed the threads of the mystery tightening. Inheritance, history, fear, and a voice that spoke in the night. Tomorrow, he vowed, the little grey cells would begin to unravel them. Chapter 4. The Locked Room Riddle. The morning sun struggled through the heavy clouds over Blackthorn Manor, casting a pallid light across the breakfast room where Hercule Poirot sat, meticulously buttering a slice of toast. The events of the previous night, Charles's scream and the wardrobe's unsettling murmurs, had left the household on edge. Captain Hastings, seated across from him, stirred his tea absently, his eyes darting toward the door as if expecting another disturbance. "Poirot," Hastings whispered, leaning forward, "that wardrobe business last night, it's got me rattled. Do you think Charles is telling the truth about hearing his name?" Poirot's moustache curved slightly. "Mon ami, truth is a slippery thing, especially in a house filled with shadows. Charles believes what he heard, but whether it was the wardrobe or a clever deception, that is for the little grey cells to determine." Before Hastings could reply, the young maid, Lily, burst into the room, her face pale and her apron twisted in her hands. "Monsieur Poirot, sir, you must come quick. The guest room, the one with the wardrobe, it's locked, and there's something under the door." Poirot rose swiftly, his napkin falling neatly to the table. "Lead the way, mademoiselle. Hastings, venez avec moi." They followed Lily to the east wing, where Lady Eleanor, Charles, Beatrice, and Grayson had already gathered outside the guest-room door. Mrs. Dunley and Mr. Voss arrived moments later, the former muttering about more theatrics. The heavy oak door was indeed locked, its keyhole gleaming in the dim corridor light. Beneath it a folded piece of paper protruded, its edge frayed. Grayson, ever composed, produced a ring of keys. "This is the master key, sir," he said, handing it to Poirot. "But I checked the room last night after we left. It was secure." Poirot inserted the key, but it refused to turn. He knelt, examining the lock closely. "Most curious," he murmured. "The mechanism is jammed. Deliberately, I suspect. Grayson, have you another key?" The butler shook his head. "That's the only one for this door, sir." Charles stepped forward, his jaw tight. "Break it down, then. We need to know what's going on." "Patience, monsieur," Poirot said, raising a hand. He retrieved the paper from under the door, unfolding it with care. The group crowded closer as he read aloud. "Seek the heart, where secrets sleep, where shadows whisper truths do keep. 5 steps forward, 3 to the right. Press the vine to find the light." "A riddle," Beatrice said, her voice tinged with excitement. "It's like something from the old family journals." Mrs. Dunley scoffed. "Nonsense! Some prankster's idea of a joke." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "Non, madame. A prank, perhaps, but one with purpose. This note was placed to be found. Let us see what the wardrobe reveals." With no key to open the door, Poirot turned to Grayson. "Fetch tools, s'il vous plaît. We must gain entry without delay." Grayson returned, with a crowbar, and after a few precise efforts, the lock gave way with a splintering crack. The door swung open, revealing the guest room bathed in weak morning light. The wardrobe stood as before, its dark oak carvings almost mocking in their stillness. No sound emanated from it now, but the air felt heavy, as if the room held its breath. Poirot approached the wardrobe, the riddle's words echoing in his mind. 5 steps forward, 3 to the right, he muttered, pacing from the door to the wardrobe's front. He then moved 3 steps to the right, facing a section of the carved vines. "Press the vine to find the light." He ran his gloved fingers over the carvings, pausing at a cluster of leaves that seemed slightly raised. With a gentle press, a soft click echoed, and a small panel in the wardrobe side slid open, revealing a narrow compartment. Inside was a single item, a tarnished brass key, its bow shaped like a raven. "Mon Dieu!" Poirot breathed, holding it up. "The wardrobe! It guards its secrets well." Lady Eleanor gasped. "That key! It looks like one from my grandfather's collection. But it was lost years ago." Hastings, peering over Poirot's shoulder, frowned. "What's it for? Another lock in the wardrobe?" "Perhaps," Poirot said, "or perhaps another door entirely. Madame, are there other locked rooms in the manor?" Lady Eleanor hesitated. "The library has a sealed cabinet, but it hasn't been opened in decades. The key was thought lost." Poirot pocketed the key, his mind racing. "We shall investigate this cabinet. But first, the lock on this door. Its tampering suggests intent. Someone wished to delay our entry, to ensure we found this note." Charles shifted uncomfortably. "You think someone in the house did this?" "Oui, monsieur. The little grey cells, they point to a hand within these walls." Poirot's gaze swept the group. noting Beatrice's wide-eyed curiosity, Voss's nervous fidgeting, and Mrs. Dunlay's pursed lips. Grayson remained impassive, but Lily's hands trembled as she stood in the background. Beatrice spoke up. "The riddle mentions the heart where secrets sleep. Could it refer to the family journal? I mentioned last night that pages are missing. Maybe they're hidden somewhere." Poirot nodded. "An excellent observation, mademoiselle. The Abe journal may indeed hold answers. We must search the library and this cabinet." As they moved to leave, Poirot lingered, examining the wardrobe's interior once more. The inscription, "Les murmurs gardent la vérité," seemed to glow faintly in the morning light. He tapped the cedar lining, listening for hollows, but found none. Yet the key and the riddle suggested a deeper secret, one tied to the Manor's past. Back in the corridor, Hastings whispered, "Poirot, this is getting stranger by the minute. A locked room, a riddle, a key. What's next?" "Next, mon ami, we follow the threads. Someone in this house knows more than they say. The wardrobe's whispers are not its own. They are the echoes of a human heart, hiding a truth we must uncover." As they descended to the library, Poirot's mind churned. The locked room, the riddle, the key, all were pieces of a puzzle, carefully placed. But by whom, and to what end? The shadows of Blackthorn Manor held their secrets tightly, but Hercule Poirot was determined to bring them into the light. Chapter 5. Whispers of Betrayal. The morning light filtering through Blackthorn Manor's library. Windows did little to dispel the chill that clung to the air. Hercule Poirot stood before a towering bookshelf, his gloved fingers tracing the spines of leather-bound volumes, while Captain Hastings paced nearby, clutching the tarnished raven-shaped key from the wardrobe's hidden compartment. The locked room riddle and the mysterious key had set Poirot's mind ablaze. But he knew the truth lay not only in objects, but in the hearts of those within the manor's walls. "Poirot, this library is a maze," Hastings grumbled, eyeing the shelves. "If that key opens the sealed cabinet Lady Eleanor mentioned, we might find that missing journal. But where is it?" "Patience, mon ami," Poirot replied, his voice calm but sharp. "The little grey cells, they require information. Objects tell stories, but people, they weave them. We shall speak to the staff first." Poirot had requested private interviews with the manor's servants, sensing that their proximity to the household's daily life might reveal truths the Blackthorns concealed. Lady Eleanor had agreed, albeit reluctantly, and Grayson, the butler, arranged for the meetings in a small parlour off the main hall. The room was cosy, with a crackling fire and faded tapestries, but the atmosphere was heavy with unspoken secrets. First to enter was Mrs. Harrow, the cook, a stout woman with flour-dusted hands and a guarded expression. Poirot offered her a chair, his demeanour courteous but probing. "Madame Harrow, you have served the Blackthorns for many years, oui? Tell me, what do you know of the wardrobe in the East Wing?" Mrs. Harrow shifted uncomfortably. "It's an old thing, sir. Been here longer than me. The maids say it's cursed, but I don't hold with such talk. Still, it's queer, the way it hums at night. I've heard it myself, passing the East Wing. And have you heard whispers of other matters?" Poirot asked, his eyes fixed on her. Secrets, perhaps, from the family's past. Her cheeks flushed. "Well, sir, there's always gossip below stairs. Years ago, Before my time, they say Lord Edmund, Lady Eleanor's late husband, had a dalliance. A woman, not from these parts, who came and went. Some said she was tied to that wardrobe, that it was hers before the Blackthorns got it. Poirot's moustache twitched. Most interesting. And this woman, who was she? Mrs. Harrow shook her head. No one knows, sir. The old groundskeeper, Mr. Tuttle, might recall more. He's been here nigh on 40 years. Next came Lily, the young maid, her eyes darting nervously. She confirmed Mrs. Harrow's tale, adding, Mr. Tuttle told me once he saw lights in the east wing, back when Lord Edmund was alive, flickering like candles near the wardrobe's room. He thought it was her, the lady. Poirot leaned forward. And these lights, Mademoiselle Lily, did Mr. Tuttle say what they meant? He said it was secret meetings, Lily whispered, twisting her apron. But he wouldn't speak more. Said it was dangerous to talk of it. The final interview was with Mr. Tuttle, the groundskeeper, a weathered man with gnarled hands and a reluctant manner. Poirot's gentle persistence coaxed a tale from him. In the 1890s, he had seen a cloaked figure, a woman, entering the manor late at night. She went straight to the east wing, Tuttle said. I followed once, saw her by the wardrobe, muttering in a foreign tongue. French, I reckon. Lord Edmund was there too, looking guilty. After she left, he told me to keep quiet, said it was family business. Poirot's eyes gleamed. And the wardrobe, Monsieur Tuttle, did it whisper then? Tuttle nodded slowly. Aye, sir, same hum we hear now. I thought it was the wind, but it felt alive. As Tuttle left, Hastings shook his head. Poirot, an affair, secret meetings, this is getting murky. Do you think this woman's connected to the wardrobe's curse? Curse, Hastings, Poirot said, raising an eyebrow. No, it is not curses that concern me, but motives. An affair, a secret, it is a thread to pull, and the wardrobe, it is at the centre. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion in the hall. Beatrice burst into the parlour, her face pale. Monsieur Poirot, come quickly, it's the wardrobe again. They hurried to the east wing, where Lady Eleanor, Charles, Voss, and Mrs. Dunlay stood outside the guest room. The door, repaired after the morning's break-in, was open, and from within came a low, sibilant whisper, clearer than before. It seemed to form words, though indistinct, until a single phrase emerged, chilling the air. Traitor among us! Mrs. Dunley gasped, clutching her shawl. This is madness. Who's doing this? Charles's face darkened. Someone's playing a cruel game. Aunt Eleanor, we should burn that thing. No, Lady Eleanor said sharply. It's part of our history. Monsieur Poirot, what does this mean? Poirot stepped into the room, his gaze fixed on the wardrobe. The whisper faded, leaving an oppressive silence. He examined the floor, walls, and carvings, finding no obvious mechanism. The voice accuses a traitor, he said softly. But is it a warning or a distraction? Madam, who in this house might feel betrayed? Lady Eleanor hesitated. There are tensions. Charles's inheritance depends on conditions he resents. Beatrice has her own ambitions for the family legacy. And Clara, Mrs. Dunlay, has never forgiven her dependence on me. Voss cleared his throat. If I may, Lady Eleanor, this could be an outsider's work. The manor's isolated, but not impregnable. Poirot nodded, filing away the suggestion. Possible, Monsieur Voss. But the little grey cells, they lean toward those within these walls. We must find this journal Beatrice mentioned, and the cabinet that key may unlock. As they left the room, Poirot lingered, his eyes on the wardrobes. Inscription: Les murmures gardent la vérité. The whispers keep the truth. But whose truth? A scorned lover, a betrayed family member, or someone else entirely? The threads of betrayal were weaving tighter, and Poirot sensed the mystery's heart was closer than ever. Chapter 6. The Frenchman's Cipher. The library of Blackthorn Manor was a sanctuary of dusty tomes and faded grandeur, its high ceilings lost in shadows cast by the afternoon's waning light. Hercule Poirot stood before a massive oak table, the tarnished raven-shaped key from the wardrobe's hidden compartment resting beside a stack of Beatrice's notes. The whispers from the wardrobe accusing a traitor among us still echoed in his mind, as did the inscription, Les murmures gardent la vérité. Captain Hastings, ever restless, leafed through a volume on French history, muttering about the absurdity of a talking wardrobe. Poirot, Hastings said, slamming the book shut. This affair business from Tuttle's story, and now whispers of betrayal. It's all too much. Are we chasing ghosts or criminals? Poirot's eyes gleamed as he adjusted his pince-nez. Neither ghosts nor criminals alone, mon ami, but a puzzle woven from both. The wardrobe's inscription, it is no mere decoration. It is a cipher, a message from the past. We must understand its language. Beatrice, who had joined them to assist with the family archives, looked up from a ledger. I've been studying the inscription, Monsieur Poirot. Les murmures gardent la vérité. It's in an old French dialect, not modern Parisian, French. I found references in the archives to the Order of the Saffron Veil, the secret society tied to the wardrobe's maker, Etienne Moreau. Poirot nodded, his fingers tracing the key's raven shape. Oui, mademoiselle. The order was rumoured to protect secrets during the French Revolution. Secrets of the nobility, hidden in coded messages. This inscription, it may be such a code. Let us examine it closely. He produced a notebook, transcribing the inscription and breaking it into parts. The phrase is simple, yet its structure is deliberate. Each word, it carries weight. Murmurs suggests sound, but also concealment. Gardant implies protection, a guard. Vérité, truth, is the prize. But how does it connect to the wardrobe's whispers? Beatrice handed him a crumbling pamphlet from the archives. Its pages yellowed. This mentions the order's use of ciphers, letter substitutions, and numerical patterns. The wardrobe's carvings might hold a key to decoding it. Poirot moved to a window, holding the pamphlet to the light. The carvings, he recalled, were intricate, vines, leaves, and symbols that seemed random but might form a pattern. Hastings, fetch paper and pencil. We shall transcribe the carving's positions. As Hastings complied, Poirot returned to the east wing, the group in tow. The wardrobe loomed in the guest room, its dark oak absorbing the dim light. Poirot sketched the carvings, noting a series of numbers etched subtly beneath the vines, 3 to 5, 7 to 2. A sequence, he murmured. Perhaps a key to the cipher. Back in the library, Poirot applied the numbers to the inscription, treating it as a substitution cipher. If we shift each letter by the sequence 3572, we may uncover a message." He worked methodically, his pencil scratching across the paper. After several minutes, a new phrase emerged. "Le secret est dans le cœur." "The secret is in the heart," Poirot translated, his voice low. "The heart of the wardrobe, perhaps, or the heart of the manor itself." Hastings frowned. "Another riddle? This is maddening, Poirot. What's it pointing to?" Beatrice's eyes widened. "The riddle from the note, 'Seek the heart where secrets sleep.' It's connected. The wardrobe must have another compartment, or maybe the sealed cabinet in the library." Before Poirot could respond, the room plunged into darkness. The lamps flickered and died, and a collective gasp rose from the group. Outside the wind howled, rattling the windows. "A blackout," Hastings said, his voice tense. "Or sabotage?" "Calme, mon ami," Poirot said, though his tone was sharp. "Grayson, the fuses, where are they?" The butler, who had entered, with Lady Eleanor, replied, "In the cellar, sir. I'll check them at once." As Grayson departed, Poirot lit a candle from the mantel, its flame casting eerie shadows. This timing, it is no coincidence. Someone wishes to disrupt our progress. "Mademoiselle Beatrice, the cabinet. Where is it?" Beatrice pointed to a corner of the library, where a tall, locked cabinet stood, its doors carved with ravens matching the key's design. Poirot inserted the key, and with a satisfying click, the cabinet opened, revealing shelves of dusty documents, but no journal. Instead, a single letter fell to the floor, its wax seal broken. Poirot unfolded it, reading by candlelight. It is dated 1791, from Etienne Moreau to an unnamed recipient. He speaks of hiding the truth of the order within the wardrobe to protect it from revolutionary spies. The wardrobe was designed to conceal, to whisper only to those who know its secret. Lady Eleanor, who had joined them, gasped. "Then the wardrobe's murmurs. Are they part of its design?" "Perhaps," Poirot said. "Or perhaps someone uses its legend to conceal their own truth. This letter confirms the wardrobe's purpose, but not the whispers we hear now." The lights flickered back on, and Grayson returned, his face grim. "The fuse was tampered with, sir. A wire was cut, deliberately." Poirot's moustache twitched. "As I suspected, the traitor among us grows bold. Madam, who was in the manor during the blackout?" "Only the family and staff," Lady Eleanor said. "Charles was in his room, Beatrice here, Clara in the drawing-room, and Mr. Voss in his study." Poirot's gaze swept the room, noting the tension in Beatrice's posture and Lady Eleanor's clenched hands. "We are close, mes amis. The wardrobe cipher points to a heart, a secret compartment or a truth buried in this house. We must search further, but with care. The one who cut the fuse, they watch us." As they prepared to leave the library, a faint hum drifted from the east wing, sharper now, almost a hiss. Hastings shivered. "It's as if it knows we're getting closer." "Non, Hastings," Poirot said softly. "It is not the wardrobe that knows, but the one who makes it. Speak, and I, Hercule Poirot, shall find them." Chapter 7. The Vanishing Heirloom. The late afternoon light cast long shadows across Blackthorn Manor's drawing-room, where Hercule Poirot stood, his hands clasped behind his back, observing the assembled household with the precision of a watchmaker. The revelation of the wardrobe's cipher, le secret est dans le cœur, and the tampered fuse had heightened the tension, and the whispers accusing a traitor lingered like a fog. Captain Hastings, seated near the fireplace, fidgeted with a pencil, his brow furrowed. The wardrobe's mysteries were piling up, and Poirot sensed the threads of the puzzle tightening. Lady Eleanor, her face drawn, broke the silence. "Monsieur Poirot, I must confess something. The wardrobe, it holds more than secrets. There was a family heirloom inside, a sapphire pendant passed down since my great-grandfather's time. I checked this morning, and it's gone." A murmur rippled through the room. Charles Blackthorne leaned forward, his eyes wide. "Gone? Aunt Eleanor, why didn't you tell us? I didn't want to alarm anyone," she replied, her voice strained. "It was hidden in a secret drawer, known only to me. I thought it safe." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Madame, this is most significant. Describe this pendant, s'il vous plaît, and when you last saw it." Lady Eleanor's hands trembled as she spoke. "It's a star-shaped sapphire, set in silver, about the size of a shilling. It was my grandmother's, said to be a gift from a French noble before the Revolution. I checked it a week ago, before the whispers began." Poirot turned to the group. Charles, Beatrice, Mrs. Dunley, and Mr. Voss, his grey eyes sharp. "A valuable heirloom, hidden in a wardrobe that whispers of betrayal. This is no coincidence. We must search the manor, but first the wardrobe itself." The group proceeded to the east wing, the air growing colder as they neared the guest room. The wardrobe loomed, its carved vines seeming to pulse in the dim light. Poirot examined the secret compartment from the previous day, where the raven-shaped key had been found. He pressed the hidden panel again, revealing the narrow space, now empty. "Madam, where was this drawer?" Lady Eleanor pointed to a lower panel inside the wardrobe's base. "There, behind a false bottom. It requires a specific twist to open." Poirot knelt, his gloved fingers probing the cedar lining. With a deft movement, he twisted a section of wood, and a small drawer sprang open, empty, save for a faint scratch mark, as if something had been forcibly removed. "The sapphire has indeed vanished," he said, rising, "but the mark suggests haste. The thief was not careful." Mrs. Dunley scoffed, crossing her arms. "This is absurd. Are we to believe someone broke into a locked wardrobe in a locked room to steal a bauble? It's probably misplaced." "No, madame," Poirot said sharply. "A thief does not leave scratches by accident. This was deliberate and recent." He turned to Grayson, who stood silently by the door. "Monsieur, Grayson, who has cleaned this room in the past week?" "Only Lily, sir," the butler replied, "but I supervise her work. The room was locked otherwise." Poirot's gaze shifted to Lily, who hovered in the corridor, her face pale. "Mademoiselle Lily, have you noticed anything unusual while cleaning?" Lily twisted her apron, her voice barely audible. "No, sir. I don't like this room. It feels wrong. But I didn't see no pendant." Beatrice stepped forward, her scholarly curiosity piqued. "Monsieur Poirot, could the sapphire be tied to the wardrobe's history? The letter from Etienne Moreau mentioned protecting the order's truth. Maybe the pendant was part of it." "A plausible theory, mademoiselle," Poirot said. "The sapphire, the wardrobe, the cipher, they are threads of the same tapestry. We must search the manor, rooms, belongings, and the library cabinet. Poirot organised the search, assigning pairs to cover different areas. Charles and Voss, Beatrice and Mrs. Dunley, and himself with Hastings. Grayson and Lily were to check the servants' quarters. Observe everything, Poirot instructed. A thief betrays themselves in small ways. A glance, a hesitation. As they searched, Poirot noted the household's reactions. Charles rummaged through the drawing room with a scowl, muttering about pointless exercises. Voss's hands shook as he checked desks, his spectacles slipping. Beatrice moved methodically, her eyes scanning for historical clues, while Mrs. Dunley's search was cursory, her disdain evident. In the library, Poirot and Hastings examined the sealed cabinet, but the raven key revealed only old ledgers, none mentioning the sapphire. The search yielded nothing, but Poirot's keen eye caught subtleties. A scuff mark near Charles's room, a torn thread on Voss's cuff, and Lily's nervous glance toward the east wing. As they reconvened in the drawing room, the wardrobe's hum began again, louder now. A low wail that sent a shiver through the group. "It's mocking us!" Charles snapped, his face flushed. "That thing's cursed, I tell you." "Non, monsieur," Poirot said, his voice calm but firm. "It is not a curse, but a message. The sapphire's theft is a distraction, or perhaps a motive. Madam," he turned to Lady Eleanor, "who knew of the pendant's hiding place?" "Only my late husband and I," she said, "and I mentioned it to Mr. Voss as my solicitor for the estate's inventory." Voss paled, adjusting his spectacles. "I assure you, Lady Eleanor, I've told no one." Poirot's eyes narrowed. Yet someone knew. The little grey cells. They suggest an outsider may have learned of it, or someone within this house is not what they seem. As the hum grew louder, Hastings clutched his hat. "Poirot, it's as if the wardrobe's angry. What if the thief's still here watching?" "Précisément, Hastings," Poirot said. "The thief is close, and the wardrobe's whispers are their echo. We are near the heart of this mystery, and I, Hercule Poirot, shall uncover it." The group dispersed, but Poirot lingered, his mind racing. The sapphire, the cipher, the whispers, all pointed to a deeper truth, one tied to betrayal and greed. The manor's shadows held their secrets tightly, but Poirot was determined to pull them into the light. Chapter 8. Echoes of a Forgotten Crime. The library of Blackthorn Manor was a cavern of secrets, its shelves heavy with the weight of centuries. Hercule Poirot stood beside a cluttered table, his gloved fingers sifting through a pile of old newspapers Beatrice had unearthed from the archives. The theft of the sapphire pendant, the wardrobe's accusing whispers, and the cipher, le secret, et dans le cœur, had woven a tapestry of intrigue that Poirot was determined to unravel. Captain Hastings, perched on a ladder, sneezed as he pulled another dusty volume from a high shelf, his enthusiasm dampened by the morning's fruitless search. "Poirot, this is like looking for a needle in a haystack," Hastings grumbled, waving a ledger. "No sign of that journal, and now we're chasing ghosts from the French Revolution. What's next?" Poirot's moustache twitched with a faint smile. "Patience, mon ami. The past, it speaks to the present, and in this manner the past is loud. Mademoiselle Beatrice, what have you found?" Beatrice, her eyes bright with scholarly zeal, held up a brittle newspaper clipping dated 1873. This, Monsieur Poirot. It's from the Shropshire Chronicle. A murder at Blackthorn Manor, never solved. It happened in the East Wing, near the wardrobe. Poirot took the clipping, his grey eyes scanning the faded print. The headline read, "Tragedy at Blackthorn. Servant found dead in locked room." The article detailed the death of a maid, Eliza Thorne, found strangled in the guest room where the wardrobe now stood. The door had been locked from the inside with no sign of forced entry. Suspicion fell on a visiting French merchant, but he vanished before questioning, and the case was abandoned. "Mon Dieu," Poirot murmured. "A locked room, a death, and the wardrobe at the centre. This is no coincidence. The whispers we hear now, they echo this forgotten crime." Hastings descended the ladder, his face pale. "You mean to say the wardrobe's connected to a murder? Poirot, this is getting downright sinister." Beatrice nodded, her voice low. "The archives mention Eliza was close to my great-great-grandfather, Lord William Blackthorn. Some whispered she knew too much about the family's dealings, perhaps tied to the sapphire or the wardrobe's origins." Poirot's mind raced, connecting threads. The wardrobe, crafted by Etienne Moreau during the French Revolution, was linked to the Order of the Saffron Veil. The sapphire, a gift from a French noble, had vanished from its hidden drawer. And now, a murder from decades past, tied to the same room. "The little grey cells, they suggest a pattern," he said. "A secret guarded, a betrayal uncovered, and a death to silence it." Lady Eleanor, who had entered the library, overheard the conversation. Her face tightened. "Monsieur Poirot, you think this old tragedy is linked to our troubles now?" "Oui, madame," Poirot replied. "The wardrobe's whispers, the stolen sapphire, they are not isolated. They are echoes of a truth buried in this house. We must speak to someone who remembers that time." Beatrice suggested the elderly maid, Mrs. Harrow, who had served the Blackthorns for decades. They summoned her to the library, where she stood, her hands clasped, her eyes wary. "Mrs. Harrow," Poirot began, his tone gentle but probing, "you were here in the 1870s, oui? What do you recall of Eliza Thorne's death?" Mrs. Harrow's lips trembled. "It was a dark time, sir. Eliza was a kind girl, but curious, always poking about the East Wing. She said she heard the wardrobe humming like it's doing now. The night she died, I saw her go upstairs, looking frightened. Next morning she was found, strangled in that room." "Did anyone suspect a motive?" Poirot asked. "Folks said she'd seen something she shouldn't," Mrs. Harrow whispered. "Lord William was in a state after. He locked the room. For years, wouldn't let anyone near the wardrobe." Poirot's eyes narrowed. And the French merchant? What was his connection? Mrs. Harrow shook her head. "He was a guest, here to buy antiques. Some thought he was after the sapphire, but he fled before the inquest. Never saw him again." As Mrs. Harrow left, Poirot turned to the group. "The sapphire, the wardrobe, the murder, they are linked. We must search the East Wing again for any trace of this past." They returned to the guest room, the wardrobe's dark presence dominating the space. Poirot examined the floorboards, walls and carvings, his fingers probing for hidden seams. As he knelt near the wardrobe's base, he noticed a loose board beneath a rug. Lifting it, he found a small blood-stained cloth. its edges frayed, but the stain fresh, too fresh for 1873. Good heavens! Hastings exclaimed. Is that blood? Oui, Hastings, Poirot said, holding the cloth to the light. But not from Eliza Thorne. This is recent, perhaps days old. Someone has been in this room, hiding evidence. Lady Eleanor gasped, and Beatrice clutched her shawl. Charles, who had joined them, muttered, "This is madness. Who'd hide something like that?" "Someone with much to lose," Poirot said. "The wardrobe's whispers, they accuse a traitor. This cloth, it accuses a criminal." Mrs. Dunley, who had been silent, scoffed. "You're suggesting murder over a piece of jewellery." "No, madame," Poirot said sharply. "Not just jewellery. A secret worth killing for, then and now. The little grey cells, they see a pattern. A locked room, a betrayal, a death. Whew, are close to the heart." As they left the room, the wardrobe hummed, a low, mournful sound that seemed to follow them. Hastings shivered. "Poirot, it's as if the past is alive, warning us." "Non, mon ami," Poirot said softly. "It is not the past, but the present, using the past's shadow. The truth is here in Blackthorn Manor, and I shall find it." Chapter 9. The Stranger at the Gate. The mist hung low over the Shropshire moors, cloaking Blackthorn Manor in a shroud that seemed to mirror its secrets. Hercule Poirot stood at a window in the library, his sharp eyes scanning the grounds. The blood-stained cloth from the wardrobe's hiding place still vivid in his mind. The cloth, too fresh to belong to the 1873 murder of Eliza Thorne, suggested a recent act, perhaps tied to the stolen sapphire or the wardrobe's accusing whispers. Captain Hastings, pacing nearby, clutched a map of the estate, his nerves frayed. "By the mounting mysteries, Poirot," Hastings said, his voice low. "That cloth, it's chilling. Do you think someone's been hurt? Or worse?" Poirot's moustache twitched. "The little grey cells, they ponder this, Hastings. The cloth is a clue, oui, but to what? A crime, a warning, or a deception? We must look beyond the manor's walls." Their conversation was interrupted by a sharp rap at the door. Mr. Tuttle, the groundskeeper, entered, his weathered face etched with unease. "Monsieur Poirot, sir, I've seen something odd. A figure cloaked near the south gate this morning. When I called out, they fled into the mist." Poirot's eyes gleamed. "A stranger, Monsieur Tuttle. Describe them, s'il vous plaît." "Tall, sir, in a dark cloak," Tuttle said. "Moved quick, like they knew the grounds. I couldn't see their face, but it reminded me of the old stories. The guardian of the wardrobe." Beatrice, who had been sorting through archive papers, looked up. "The guardian? It's a local legend, Monsieur Poirot. They say a figure watches over the wardrobe, protecting its secrets. Some claim it's the ghost of a French noble tied to the sapphire." Mrs. Dunley, entering with a scowl, snorted. "Ghosts again? This is nonsense. Probably a poacher." "No, madame," Poirot said sharply. "A poacher does not flee with such purpose. This stranger, they are connected to our mystery. Monsieur Tuttle, lead us to the gate." Poirot, Hastings and Tuttle ventured into the mist, the manor's Gothic silhouette fading behind them. The south gate, a rusted iron structure flanked by stone pillars, stood at the edge of the estate, where the moors stretched into the haze. Poirot examined the ground, noting fresh footprints, boots, too large for a woman, pressed deep into the mud. "Recent," he murmured. "Our stranger was here, perhaps watching the manor." Hastings shivered, pulling his coat tighter. "Watching? Us? Poirot, this is getting dangerous. What if they're after the sapphire?" "Or the truth it guards," Poirot said, his gaze following the footprints into the underbrush. "Come, mon ami, we shall track this trail." The trail led through brambles and across a narrow stream, the mist thickening with each step. Tuttle, familiar with the terrain, pointed out broken twigs and scuffed earth, signs of a hurried escape. Poirot moved with surprising agility, his eyes scanning for clues. Near a gnarled oak he paused, spotting a scrap of dark fabric caught on a thorn. "Voilà," he said, holding it up. "Our stranger is careless." The fabric was coarse, not the fine cloth of a noble's cloak, suggesting a practical disguise. Poirot pocketed it, his mind racing. This guardian, they are no ghost, but a person with intent. We must return and question the household. Back at the manor, Poirot gathered the family in the drawing-room. Lady Eleanor sat rigidly, her hands clasped. Charles lounged by the fire, his expression sullen, while Beatrice clutched a notebook, her eyes bright with curiosity. Mr. Voss adjusted his spectacles nervously, and Mrs. Dunlay's lips were pursed in disdain. Grayson and Lily stood by, their faces unreadable. "Monsieur Poirot," Lady Eleanor said, "what does this stranger mean for us? Are we in danger?" "Perhaps, madame," Poirot replied, "but danger often comes from within. This stranger, they know the manor's secrets. Who among you has left the estate recently, or seen an outsider?" Charles shifted uncomfortably. "I was in the village yesterday, but I didn't see anyone suspicious." Voss cleared his throat. "I rode to Ravensend 2 days ago for legal papers. The locals mentioned a traveller asking about the manor, but I thought nothing of it." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "And you, Mademoiselle Beatrice, your studies take you to the village library, oui?" Beatrice nodded. "Yes, but I saw no one unusual, though the librarian mentioned an old tale about the wardrobe's guardian, said to appear when the manor's secrets are threatened." Mrs. Dunlay scoffed. "More fairy tales! You're wasting time, Monsieur Poirot." "Non, madame," Poirot said, his voice firm. "Every tale has a seed of truth. The stranger is real, and their presence suggests an outside hand in our mystery. The sapphire, the whispers, the blood-stained cloth." As he spoke, a sharp crack echoed from the east wing, followed by the wardrobe's familiar hum, now a low, menacing growl. Lily gasped, dropping a tray, and Charles leapt to his feet. "That's it! I'm done with this cursed thing." Poirot raised a hand. "Calm, monsieur. The wardrobe speaks, but it is a human hand that prompts it. We shall investigate. But first," he turned to Voss. "Monsieur, this traveller you heard of, what did they seek?" Voss hesitated. "They asked about the Blackthorn family history, particularly the wardrobe. I didn't think it relevant." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Everything is relevant. The little grey cells, they see a pattern. A stranger, a guardian, a theft, a murder long ago. Someone seeks to control the wardrobe's truth." As they moved toward the east wing, Charles lagged behind, whispering to Voss. Poirot, ever observant, noted the exchange, his suspicions deepening. The hum grew louder, and in the guest room, the wardrobe's doors were ajar, as if inviting them. Poirot paused, his gaze fixed on the carvings. "The heart," he murmured. "We are close, mes amis. But the stranger at the gate, they watch and they wait." Chapter 10. The Wardrobe's Hidden Chamber. The air in Blackthorn Manor's east wing was thick with anticipation. As Hercule Poirot stood before the looming wardrobe, its dark oak carvings glinting in the flickering light of a single lantern, the stranger at the gate, the blood-stained cloth, and the cipher, "Le secret est dans le cœur," had converged in Poirot's mind, pointing to a truth hidden within the wardrobe itself. Captain Hastings hovered nearby, his face pale, clutching the scrap of fabric found near the oak tree, while Beatrice Blackthorn clutched a notebook, her eyes wide with scholarly fervour. The household, Lady Eleanor, Charles, Mr. Voss, and Mrs. Dunlay, watched from the doorway, their expressions a mix of dread and curiosity. "Poirot," Hastings whispered, "that hum, it's louder now. It's as if the wardrobe knows we're close." "Non, mon ami," Poirot replied, his voice steady but sharp. "It is not the wardrobe that knows, but the one who uses it. The heart of the secret lies here, and I, Hercule Poirot, shall find it." He returned to the cipher's translation. "The secret is in the heart." The riddle from the locked room note, "Seek the heart where secrets sleep," echoed in his mind, as did Beatrice's suggestion of another compartment. Poirot had already uncovered the drawer that held the sapphire, and the panel concealing the raven-shaped key. Now he focused on the wardrobe's interior, his gloved fingers tracing the cedar lining for irregularities. "Mademoiselle Beatrice," he said, "the carvings remind me of the numerical sequence we found beneath the vines." Beatrice flipped through her notes. "Yes, 32572. We used it to decode the inscription, but it might also indicate a mechanism." Poirot nodded, his eyes scanning the wardrobe's ornate frame. He counted 3 steps up the left panel, 5 across the top, 7 down the right, and 2 along the base, pausing at a cluster of carved leaves. Pressing each leaf in sequence, he heard a faint click, and a section of the wardrobe's back panel slid aside, revealing a hidden chamber no larger than a bread box. A collective gasp rose from the group. Poirot reached inside, extracting a bundle of yellowed letters tied with a faded ribbon and a folded parchment that appeared to be a map. The letters bore the seal of the Order of the Saffron Veil, their wax cracked but intact. The map, drawn in precise ink, depicted Blackthorn Manor's grounds, with an X marked near the south gate, where Tuttle had spotted the stranger. "Mon Dieu," Poirot murmured, unfolding the first letter. "These are dated 1792, from Etienne, Moreau to a Blackthorn ancestor. They speak of a scandal, a noblewoman's betrayal during the Revolution, her secrets entrusted to the wardrobe to protect the Order's honour." Lady Eleanor's face paled. "A scandal? My family has always been honourable. What does it say?" Poirot read aloud. "The lady's indiscretion threatens us all. Her letters, hidden in the heart, must never see light, lest the Blackthorn name fall." "The wardrobe was built to conceal these letters, madam, and perhaps the sapphire was payment for silence." Charles clenched his fists. "This is ancient history. Why does it matter now?" "Because, monsieur," Poirot said, his eyes narrowing, "someone seeks to use this scandal, or hide it. The sapphire's theft, the blood-stained cloth, the stranger. They are linked to this truth." Beatrice pointed to the map. "That X. It's near the gate. Could something be buried there? The journal, perhaps." Before Poirot could respond, Mrs. Dunley stepped forward, her voice sharp. "This is outrageous. You're dredging up old gossip to accuse us. I won't stand for it." Poirot's gaze fixed on her. "Madame, your indignation is noted, but the little grey cells, they observe. Your reluctance, it suggests knowledge. What do you know of this scandal?" Mrs. Dunley flushed, her lips tightening. "Nothing. I'm tired of this farce." Voss, adjusting his spectacles nervously, interjected. "Lady Eleanor, perhaps we should destroy these letters. They could ruin the family's reputation." "Non," Poirot said firmly. "To destroy is to bury the truth. We shall investigate this map, but first—" He paused as the wardrobe's hum returned, a low, sibilant whisper that seemed to curl around him, forming words. "Beware the heart." Hastings flinched. "Good Lord, Poirot, it's following you now!" Poirot's expression remained calm, but his pulse quickened. "The whispers, they are a mechanism or a manipulation. Someone in this house controls them, to frighten or distract." Charles rounded on Voss. "You're awfully quick to suggest burning those letters, Voss. What are you hiding?" Voss recoiled. "I'm protecting Lady Eleanor's interests as her solicitor." "Enough," Lady Eleanor said, her voice trembling. "Monsieur Poirot, what do we do?" "We proceed with care," Poirot replied. "The map points to the south gate. Monsieur Tuttle and I shall investigate at dawn. For now, these letters remain with me. But I warn you, someone resists the truth. The blood-stained cloth, the stranger, they are signs of desperation." As the group dispersed, Poirot lingered, the letters and map in hand. He noted Charles's heated glance at Voss, Mrs. Dunley's hurried exit, and Beatrice's thoughtful frown. Grayson, silent as ever, watched from the corridor, while Lily avoided the wardrobe's gaze. The hum faded, but its echo lingered, a shadow in Poirot's mind. "Hastings," he said softly, "we are close to the heart of this mystery. The scandal, the sapphire, the whispers, they converge, but the one who pulls the strings, they grow bold. We must be bolder." As they left the east wing, the manor's shadows seemed to close in. The wardrobe's whispers, a constant reminder of the truth Poirot was determined to uncover. Chapter 11. The Night of Revelations. The drawing-room of Blackthorn Manor glowed. Under the soft flicker of candlelight, the heavy drapes drawn against the night's chill. Hercule Poirot stood at the centre, his diminutive figure commanding the space as the household gathered in a tense semicircle. Captain Hastings sat near the fireplace, his notebook open, while Lady Eleanor Blackthorn occupied an armchair, her hands clasped tightly. Charles Blackthorn leaned against the mantel, his face a mask of defiance, while Beatrice perched on a jet sofa, her eyes sharp with anticipation. Mr. Voss adjusted his spectacles nervously, and Mrs. Dunley sat rigidly, her lips pursed. Grayson the butler and Lily the maid stood by the door, their expressions unreadable. "Mes amis," Poirot began, his voice clear and deliberate, "tonight we unravel the mystery of the whispering wardrobe, the sapphire's theft, the blood-stained cloth, the stranger at the gate, the letters of scandal. They are threads of a tapestry woven with deceit. The little grey cells, they have worked tirelessly, and now I shall reveal the truth." Lady Eleanor's voice trembled. "Monsieur Poirot, have you found the sapphire, or the one responsible?" Poirot raised a hand. "Patience, madam. Let us begin with the wardrobe's whispers. They are not supernatural, no. They are a mechanism, or a manipulation. The hum, the words, traitor, beware the heart, they are designed to frighten, to distract from a secret guarded since the French Revolution." He paced slowly, his eyes sweeping the room. "The letters found in the wardrobe's hidden chamber, written by Etienne Moreau, speak of a noblewoman's betrayal, her secrets hidden to protect the order of the Saffron Veil. The sapphire, a gift from that noblewoman, was payment for silence. But someone in this house sought to profit from that secret, or bury it." Charles shifted, his jaw tight. "Get to the point, Poirot. Are you accusing one of us?" "Oui, monsieur," Poirot said, his gaze locking onto Charles. "Let us start with you. Your inheritance depends on conditions you resent. Marriage, stability. The sapphire, worth a fortune, would free you from those constraints. Did you steal it?" Charles's face reddened. "That's preposterous. I didn't even know about the drawer." Poirot turned to Voss. "And you, Monsieur Voss, the solicitor who knew of the sapphire's existence. Your suggestion to burn the letters, was it to protect Lady Eleanor, or to hide your own knowledge of the scandal?" Voss sputtered, his spectacles slipping. I only meant to safeguard the family's reputation." "Enough!" Mrs. Dunley snapped. "This is a farce. You've no proof, Poirot." Poirot's moustache twitched. "Non, madame." "Then let us consider the blood-stained cloth found beneath the wardrobe's floorboard. The stain is fresh, not from Eliza Thorne's murder in 1873. It suggests a recent act, perhaps violence. Madame Dunley, your disdain for this investigation, it hides a fear. What do you know?" Her eyes flashed. "Nothing. I'm tired of your accusations." Beatrice spoke softly. "Monsieur Poirot, the map from the wardrobe, it points to the south gate. Could the sapphire be hidden there?" Poirot nodded. "A fine observation, mademoiselle. But before we investigate, let us address the stranger at the gate. Monsieur Tuttle saw a cloaked figure, and I found a scrap of fabric, coarse, not noble. It suggests a disguise." He turned to Grayson. "Monsieur Grayson, your loyalty to this house is impeccable, yet you linger near the east wing. Have you seen this stranger?" Grayson's face remained impassive. "No, sir. I patrol the manor, but I've seen no one." Poirot's eyes narrowed. "And you, Mademoiselle Lily? You tremble when near the wardrobe. What frightens you?" Lily's hands twisted her apron. I heard the whispers, sir. They said my name once. I thought it was my imagination, but—" Her words were cut off by a deafening crash from the hall, followed by the shattering of glass. The room plunged into darkness as the candles flickered out, and a cold draught swept through. Hastings leapt to his feet. "Good Lord, Poirot, what's happening?" "Sabotage!" Poirot shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Everyone, stay where you are." Grayson lit a match, revealing a shattered chandelier on the floor, its chain severed. "The bolts were cut," he said grimly. "This was deliberate." Poirot's mind raced. The one who fears the truth grows desperate. The whispers, the theft, the cloth, they point to a traitor among us, and this act confirms it. Charles rounded on Voss. You were near the hall earlier, Voss. Did you do this?" "Absurd," Voss retorted. "I was in my study." Mrs. Dunley's voice trembled. "This is madness. Someone wants us dead." "Non," Poirot said, his tone firm. "They want us silent. The wardrobe's whispers are a tool, perhaps a hidden device within its structure, amplifying sounds too. So fear, but the heart, the secret, it is close." Lady Eleanor clutched her shawl. "Monsieur Poirot, what do we do?" "We search the south gate at dawn," Poirot said. "The map leads there, and the stranger's presence confirms it. But tonight we guard these letters and remain vigilant. The traitor is among us, and they will act again." As the group dispersed, Poirot lingered, his gaze on the shattered chandelier. Hastings whispered, "Poirot, that crash, it was meant to stop you, wasn't it?" "Oui, Hastings," Poirot said softly. "The little grey cells, they see clearly now. The wardrobe's truth is a scandal, a theft, perhaps a crime. The one who pulls the strings, they are desperate. But I, Hercule Poirot, am more so. The manor's shadows seem to pulse. The wardrobe's hum, a distant echo, as Poirot prepared for the final unravelling of its secrets. Chapter 12. The Final Whisper. The dawn light crept over the Shropshire moors, casting a pale glow on Blackthorn, Manor's weathered stone. Hercule Poirot stood at the south gate, the map from the wardrobe's hidden chamber in hand, its inked X marking a spot near a gnarled yew tree. The household, Lady Eleanor, Charles, Beatrice, Mr. Voss, and Mrs. Dunley, followed reluctantly, their faces etched with exhaustion and fear after the chandelier's sabotage the previous night. Captain Hastings, clutching his coat against the chill, whispered, "Poirot, this feels like a trap. That stranger could be watching." "Oui, mon ami," Poirot replied, his eyes scanning the mist. "But the trap, it is set by the one who whispers through the wardrobe. Today, I, Hercule Poirot, shall spring it." The group reached the yew tree, where Tuttle, the groundskeeper, joined them with a shovel. Poirot pointed to the X's location, and Tuttle began to dig, unearthing a small tin box within minutes. Inside was a leather-bound journal, its pages brittle but intact. Beatrice gasped. "The missing family journal! It must hold the scandal's details." Poirot opened it, scanning entries from 1792. "It confirms the letter's tale. A noblewoman's betrayal, her affair with a Blackthorn ancestor, hidden by Etienne Moreau in the wardrobe. The sapphire was her gift, a bribe for silence. But there is more. Recent entries in a modern hand." Before he could read further, a sharp crack rang out. A gunshot from the nearby woods. The group ducked, Hastings shouting, "Good Lord! Poirot, we're under attack!" "Stay low," Poirot commanded, his voice steady. Tuttle dropped the shovel, and Lady Eleanor clutched Beatrice. Poirot's eyes darted to the trees, spotting a cloaked figure, the stranger, fleeing through the mist. "Hastings, with me!" he barked, sprinting after the figure with surprising agility. The chase led through brambles and over a stream, the stranger's cloak snagging on thorns. Poirot, undeterred, seized a fallen branch and tripped the figure, who fell with a grunt. Pulling back the hood, he revealed Mr. Voss, his spectacles askew, a pistol slipping from his hand. "Voss!" Hastings gasped. "You're the stranger!" Poirot's moustache twitched. "Oui, and the mastermind. Monsieur Voss, your game is over. Back at the manor, Poirot gathered the household in the drawing-room, Voss now restrained by Tuttle and Grayson. The journal lay open on the table, its secrets bared. Poirot paced, his voice commanding. Mes amis, the mystery of the whispering wardrobe is solved. The little grey cells, they have unravelled the threads. The sapphire, the blood-stained, cloth, the whispers, the stranger, all led to one man. He turned to Voss. You, monsieur, knew of the sapphire's value and the scandal in the journal. As Lady Eleanor's solicitor, you had access to the family's secrets. You orchestrated the whispers, using a hidden device in the wardrobe, a simple phonograph mechanism, concealed in the false back, amplifying recorded sounds to sow fear. Voss's face paled. You've no proof. Non? Poirot held up the scrap of fabric from the oak tree, matching it to Voss's cloak. This, and the journal's recent entries, in your handwriting, detailing plans to sell the sapphire, abroad. You stole it from the wardrobe's drawer, but when Charles heard the whispers, you panicked, staging the locked room, the riddle, and the blood-stained cloth. A ruse with animal blood to suggest a crime. Lady Eleanor gasped. But why, Voss? You've served us for years. Greed, madam, Poirot said. The sapphire's value tempted him, but the journal's scandal, proof of your ancestors' treachery, could ruin your family's name. He sought to retrieve it, using the stranger's guise to search the grounds. But the wardrobe's whispers betrayed him. Charles clenched his fists. You nearly shot us, Voss. Voss struggled against Tuttle's grip. I only meant to scare you away from the gate. The journal. I had to destroy it. Poirot's eyes gleamed. And vulnerable the chandelier's sabotage, your final act to stop my revelations. But the little grey cells, they see all. The wardrobe's cipher, le secret est dans le cœur, led to the hidden chamber, and the map led to the journal. You used the legend of the Guardian to mask your actions, but your haste betrayed you. Mrs. Dunlay, silent until now, spoke softly. I suspected Voss. He asked too many questions about the sapphire, but I said nothing, fearing scandal. Beatrice clutched the journal. The family's honour. It's tarnished, but will survive. Poirot nodded. The truth. It is painful, but necessary. The sapphire, Monsieur Voss. Where is it? Voss slumped, defeated. Hidden in my study, behind the bookshelf. Grayson retrieved the sapphire, its star-shaped brilliance gleaming. Lady Eleanor sighed. Thank you, Monsieur Poirot. You've saved us. As Voss was led away, the wardrobe's hum sounded one last time, a faint, fading whisper. Hastings shivered. It's as if it's saying goodbye. Non, Hastings, Poirot said softly. It is merely wood, manipulated by a man's greed. The whispers are silent now, for the truth is free. The manor's shadows seemed lighter, but the cost of betrayal lingered, a reminder of the secrets Poirot had brought to light. Chapter 13. The Dawn of Clarity. The morning sun rose over Blackthorn Manor, its golden rays piercing the mist that had clung to the Shropshire moors for days. The manor, once a fortress of secrets, stood bathed in light, its Gothic spires softened by the dawn. Hercule Poirot sat in the drawing-room, a cup of steaming tisane in hand, his impeccable suit a stark contrast to the worn elegance of the room. Captain Hastings, seated across from him, scribbled notes in his journal, his face a mix of relief and lingering unease. The resolution of the whispering wardrobe's mystery, Mr. Voss's betrayal, the recovery of the sapphire, and the exposure of a long-buried scandal had left the household shaken but free. "Poirot," Hastings said, setting down his pen, "I still can't believe it was Voss all along. A solicitor of all people. And that phonograph in the wardrobe, devilishly clever." Poirot's moustache curved in a faint smile. "Oui, mon ami. The human heart, it is capable of great deception. Voss used the wardrobe's legend, the guardian, the whispers, to mask his greed. But the little grey cells, they see through such ruses." Lady Eleanor entered, her silver hair neatly pinned, her expression weary but resolute. "Monsieur Poirot, I cannot thank you enough. The sapphire is restored, and the journal's secrets, though painful, are ours to bear. But what of the wardrobe?" Poirot sipped his tisane, his eyes thoughtful. "Madame, the wardrobe is no longer a threat. Its whispers were a mechanical trick, a phonograph hidden in the false back, operated by Voss to sow fear and distract from his theft. I recommend dismantling it to end its hold over this house." Beatrice, joining them with a stack of papers, nodded. "I agree. The wardrobe's history, Etienne Moreau, the Order of the Saffron Veil, the scandal, it's part of our past, but it shouldn't haunt our future. I'll document its story for the archives, but it's time to let it go." Charles, entering with a subdued air, added, "I never liked the thing. It gave me the creeps, especially after hearing my name whispered. Burn it, for all I care." "Non, monsieur," Poirot said gently. "To destroy is to deny history. Dismantle, yes, but preserve its pieces. The truth, it must be respected, even when it wounds." Mrs. Dunley, trailing behind, offered a rare nod of agreement. "For once, I concur. This family has carried enough secrets. Let's be done with them." Grayson, ever dutiful, reported that workmen had been summoned from Ravensend to take the wardrobe apart. As the group moved to the east wing to oversee the task, Poirot reflected on the case. The wardrobe cipher, Le secret est dans le cœur, had led to the hidden chamber, revealing letters and a map. The blood-stained cloth, a ruse with animal blood, had deepened the mystery, while the stranger at the gate, Voss in disguise, had nearly derailed the truth. The chandelier's sabotage, a desperate act, had only sharpened Poirot's resolve. In the guest room, the wardrobe stood silent, its dark oak carvings no longer menacing. Workmen arrived, their tools clattering as they began to disassemble the piece. The false back was removed, revealing the phonograph mechanism, a simple device with a concealed speaker, rigged to amplify recorded whispers. Hastings marvelled. "Ingenious, Poirot. Voss must have spent weeks setting this up." "Indeed," Poirot said. "He used the manor's isolation and the legend of the guardian to his advantage. The whispers, 'Traitor, beware the heart,' were meant to frighten, to keep us from the journal and the sapphire. But greed, it betrays even the cleverest mind." As the wardrobe's panels were stacked against the wall, Beatrice examined the carvings, noting their craftsmanship. "These will go to a museum," she said. "The Order's history deserves study, not fear." Lady Eleanor, watching the dismantling, sighed. "My family's honour is tarnished, but we'll rebuild. Charles, Beatrice, I trust you'll learn from this." Charles, his earlier defiance softened, nodded. "I've been a fool, Aunt Eleanor. Chasing wealth, resenting your conditions. I'll do better." Mrs. Dunlay, her sharp tongue quieted, added, "And I'll stop my griping. Family's what matters, not grudges." Poirot smiled faintly. The human heart, it learns slowly, but it learns. The wardrobe's curse was no curse at all, just the weight of secrets now lifted. As the workman finished, the room felt lighter, the oppressive air gone. The group returned to the drawing-room, where Grayson served tea. Poirot, ever observant, noted Lily's newfound calm. She had been terrified by the whispers, but now smiled shyly. Tuttle, too, seemed relieved, his tales of the Guardian no longer haunting him. "Hastings," Poirot said as they prepared to depart, "this case, it reminds us, the truth, it is like the dawn. It comes slowly, but it cannot be stopped. The blackthorns will heal, and we move to the next puzzle." Hastings chuckled. "You're insatiable, Poirot. What's next? Another haunted wardrobe?" "Non, mon ami," Poirot said, his eyes twinkling. "Perhaps a mystery of a different sort. But for now, we return to London, where order awaits." As their car rolled down the gravel path, Blackthorn Manor receded into the mist, its secrets laid bare. The dawn stretched across the moors, serene and unyielding, a fitting end to a case that had tested Poirot's brilliance. The whispers were silent, the truth revealed, and Hercule Poirot, ever the seeker of clarity, looked forward to the next challenge.